All rise. Court is in session. The Honorable Emily Mish.
You may be seated. Welcome to day 2 of Mr. Holman's class of the Enron trial. Court will resume as we did on Monday. If there are no pretrial matters, I don't think we have any more. Prosecution, you may call your motion.
Defense.
Sorry, defense.
Okay. The defense calls Mr. Skilling to the stand.
Hey, Jeff.
Hey.
It's fun golfing with you the other day. All right, raise your right hand. Do you swear?
Sure.
Okay. I'm sure you do.
Hello.
Hi.
Can you please state your name for the record?
Jeff Skilling.
Mr. Skilling, can you please state your roles at Enron?
I was the CEO and the COO, or former CEO, former COO.
And can you please help us understand how you got to Enron?
Yeah, so when I was a young boy, my dad was promised a promotion at his job and ended up getting fired instead. So that made me have to work harder for everything. Like getting into Harvard, I had to work hard into getting into Harvard and making.
Objection, narrative. Sustained. Can you bring up your questions?
Oh, my bad.
There
Sorry.
you go. Gotta go.
What made you decide to get to Enron, Mr. Skilling?
I saw Ken Lay as a visionary. I really liked the innovation at Enron, and I figured I wanted to be an executive at Enron one day.
What types of things were your priority when working at Enron?
I took a utilitarian approach to everything, and then people started copying what Enron was doing at their company, so we had to, be more innovative than the other companies.
So what was one of your ways in which you helped manage the company's financial strategy?
Market-to-market accounting was a big one for us.
And can you briefly explain market-to-market accounting for us, please?
Yeah, it's a method of measuring fair value accounts and provides realistic approach to an institution's current financial situation.
And why did you choose market-to-market accounting?
We chose market-to-market accounting because not only was it approved by the SEC, but because it was an innovative way to increase the competition.
And who was primarily in charge of Enron's SBEs and finances?
That was Mr. Fastow.
And then can you please quickly iterate why you decided to leave Enron?
Personal reasons. I felt like I was away from my family a lot, and the pressures of CEO were getting to be too much.
That is all for now, Your Honor. Thank you.
Cross-examination, you may proceed.
Mr. Skilling, as your time as Enron's CEO, it was your job to oversee any major transactional deals as the company makes, correct?
Correct.
Objection, Your Honor. At the time, SOX was not in place, so the executives did not have to oversee every single financial account.
I like how aggressive you are with objections, however, when they answer, like ask and answer, it's kind of done with. So just be a little bit quicker when he asks questions, but I love it. You may proceed.
Well, so this means if Enron was to make any major business transaction, you would have been aware of it, correct?
It's hard to see everything that goes on.
It's a yes or no question, Mr. Skilling.
No.
Well, Your Honor, permission to approach the witness, which has been marked with Exhibit C.
You may.
Yeah, they're supposed to
Do you recognize this sheet?
Yes.
Well, just in case if you have a little fog in your memory, this exhibit is the Enron Risk Assessment and Control Deal Approval Sheet of the barges that were sold, three Nigerian power barges that were sold to Merrill Lynch, and which were for a percentage of that barge and then Enron then bought back that barge after 6 months. Your Honor, permission to publish this exhibit to the jury?
Objection, Your Honor, foundation. And also, can we get a copy?
Yeah.
let's give council copies, and then you may be heard on foundation, and what you might wanna hear.
This paper was produced.
Council, we're gonna have her respond to her objection.
This was not published before today. This was not published on
Yeah, it was.
Thursday.
I didn't publish it.
That's not the one. Just this one.
So
I think that one
was.
should be in there.
This one was.
Okay. We went through all the exhibits, before trial, Alexis, on the email that you were copied on to.
Yeah, I didn't have this one, I don't think. I had a bunch
There
of,
might be another one you didn't
I
have.
also don't recognize this.
yeah,
as
both
Okay.
of us don't recognize it.
But I did send this one.
Jennifer, can we approach the bench?
Okay.
Do you have your email?
Yeah.
Jared, if we can stop time too.
Yeah, stop.
Opposing counsel, if you can pull up your email.
I'll pull it up.
Council also said that it shouldn't be C, it maybe is
Yeah,
numbers
it
for
should
you
be a
guys.
number.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
it should
numbers
be-
for
it
us?
should be
The numbers on one side, letters on another.
Okay, I'm,
That's the small thing.
I forgot about that.
Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. The objection will be sustained. Council, you can continue asking questions and just, remember that you can get all the information from, just try your best. Otherwise, we'll proceed. You go with questions.
Do you remember this deal?
It's very foggy in my brain.
Objection, foundation, can't refer to the exhibit as it's not entertained.
This sucks. Yeah,
You're just gonna give up on it?
well, I don't have my exhibit. That was like the whole thing I went off of.
Why don't you ask your other lawyer, she wants to.
You got any questions?
Not any, unless there's more on the
You can still ask, like, questions, like, did you ever, did this
Yeah,
happen? Like,
But there's no base on that. There's,
well, use your base.
just ask the questions.
Yeah,
You don't ask on that exhibit, but you ask, still can ask questions. We're giving up, that's good.
I don't know. This kind of sucks.
If you can have him name the deal, the New Life Foundation for his memory of the
Mhm.
deal, and you can ask questions regarding it.
But
without
you
reference.
already said it was foggy, and he's not gonna say that he's gonna remember the deal. Yeah, I got nothing.
Any recap?
Yes,
Basically.
Mr. Skilling, quickly to clear up some of the confusion about, about the finances at Enron and your involvement. Throughout your tenure as CEO, did you believe Enron was financially healthy and positioned for long-term success?
Yeah, at Enron, we were acting with the confines of the law. Everything that we did was approved by Arthur Anderson and and other financial institutions such as Chase Bank.
If you had known Enron was in serious financial trouble, would you have acted differently?
It's impossible to know everything, like I was saying earlier, that goes on when you're CEO. There's so many different branches. Enron failing made me sad. It was like me and Mr. Lay's baby, you know, and we feel bad for all the employees that lost their jobs and lost everything. That happened.
Thank you, Mr. Skilling.
Any recalls?
No further questions.
I'm gonna step down and we'll get time from the jury. Jury, can you update us?
Yeah, plaintiff is at 1632 and defense is at 1721.
Thanks, Ellie.
Defense, you may call your next witness.
The defense calls Ken Lay to stand.
No,
Flush it. You didn't.
Wait, I flipped those. Time's flipped. Sorry.
Man.
Oopsies.
That causes undue bias.
Bailiff's bar. Raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Let's read the other one first.
Button, will you sit down?
Who's this?
You got it.
Oh, thank you.
Alright, Mr. Lay, can you please state your name for the record?
Kenneth Lay,
And Mr. Lay, can you please state your roles at Enron?
founder and CEO.
So Mr. Lay, as the founder and CEO, what was your vision for the company?
I wanted Enron to be a leader in energy innovation, and my basic plan for Enron was to change the energy market to be cheaper for consumers and better for the planet.
So you say you wanted Enron to be innovative. Your Honor, permission to approach the witness was with what has been marked as Exhibit E.
You may.
Mr. Lay, I ask you to refer to what has been marked as Exhibit E. Do you recognize Exhibit E?
Yes.
And what is Exhibit E?
This is stating that Enron was the most innovative company from the years 1996 to 2001.
The defense moves to enter Exhibit E into evidence.
Can we look at it first? Thank you.
Any objections?
No, we're good.
The jury will publish this to the jury, the authenticity has been stipulated to, and it's marked as Exhibit E.
Mr. Bailiff, sir.
So, Mr. Lay, how many years in a row was Enron the most innovative company by Fortune 500?
6 years in a row.
And that must be something that you are proud of.
Yes, certainly. Both Skilling and I agree. We wanted to make the world a better place. And being innovative is just one of the good things that Enron did.
So what steps were taken to ensure that Enron operated both legally and ethically at Enron?
I hired top talent Jeff Skilling to take over as CEO because of his innovative thinking and work ethic. I felt I could trust his vision with what I started at Enron. Our financials were also reviewed and approved by our auditor, Arthur Anderson, as well as many financial analysts. And we also had checks and balances in place.
Objection narrative.
Sustained.
Okay, we'll just move on. Did you ever instruct or knowingly allow fraudulent accounting practices?
Certainly not.
And as the CEO, what was your level of involvement in overseeing Enron's financial operations?
As the CEO of a company as large as Enron, I couldn't be aware of every financial transaction or decision made with Enron. I did heavily rely on our experts, our CFO, Andrew Fastow, along with many others, to ensure we operated within the law. Unfortunately, some individuals couldn't abide by that trust.
So when concerns were raised about Enron's financial health, what actions did you take?
We supported energy deregulation because, sorry. Can you read that question?
Yeah, when concerns were raised about Enron's financial health, what actions did you take?
I took them very seriously. I continued to invest in Enron, personally buying more stock because I believed in the company's future. Like many others, I did not anticipate how fast the company would fall and things would unravel.
So how were you personally affected when Enron's collapse occurred?
I ended up losing 90% of my wealth. At the time of Enron's downfall, I did still have 7.7 million shares in stock, and at its peak in 2000, that stock was worth over 600 million.
And so, Mr. Lay, what was explained to you regarding Mr. Fastow's dealings with LJM and Enron?
If I had known any wrongdoings, I was told that LJM was created to reduce risk and improve Enron's financial position, and Mr. Fastow assured me that these transactions were beneficial to the company to reduce our liabilities.
So one final question for you. If you had known about any fraudulent activity within Enron, what actions would you have taken?
If I did know about any of it, I would have put a stop to it immediately. I built Enron to be a world-class company, and I never would allow any unethical practices within my company under my leadership.
Thank you, Mr. Lay. That'll be all the questions I have for now.
Cross-examination, you may proceed.
Mr. Lay, during your time at Enron, your company had a heavy focus on the stock price of Enron. Is that correct?
Say that, yes.
And didn't you, as well as other executives at Enron, encourage employees to invest in this stock? Is that correct?
Yeah, not only did I have very good intentions with the company, but so did many
It's a yes or
people.
no question, please.
Yes.
Your Honor, permission to approach the witness with exhibits marked 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, please.
You may, I think for a regular person, we might normally do one at a time, but for
But they're
this
all
class,
under the same.
okay, we'll all do it at once. If that's what you
Yeah.
Can somebody, oh, there's like 3 of them.
A little too heavy.
Yeah.
I work out.
Mr. Lay, do you recognize those documents?
One second here.
Well, if you don't, these documents are highly relevant stock receipts from your sales of Enron stock, from dated from 2001, July 25th, 2001 to September 4th, 2001. Do you recognize those?
Yes, these were stocks that I did pull out.
These are very important receipts, correct?
You could say that.
Objection, Your Honor, speculation.
You may be heard.
This is more prejudicial than probative, meaning that it influences the jury rather than providing clear evidence of misconduct.
Your response, counsel.
I would say that I was presenting the stocks as I was trying to show that these stocks were trying to ask him if he knew these and if these were important to his.
I'll overrule, I think this is the proper witness to ask the question if it's important or not, as, he's the one who, published it. So I'll overrule, you can ask the question if you want to.
Okay. Your Honor, permission to enter Exhibit C to the jury and publish Exhibit, Your Honor, permission to publish Exhibits 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, please?
Any objections, counsel?
Yeah, there's a lot of them here.
I think we have all of them.
You do? Okay. The jury needs some of them.
We object to ambiguity since there's a repeat that the financial transaction exhibit instead of proof of fraud, there was a repeat, so there could be some ambiguity.
I didn't say it was wrong.
Aren't you trying to show that there was fraud involved?
I was not.
Let's, I'll overrule with just a couple more questions of counsel then to lay the foundation that you're not trying to prove fraud and just, a different point of why you're entering these exhibits, and maybe that would clear that
Yeah.
objection up.
Mr. Lay, you had a series of margin calls on your line of credit. Is that correct?
I had many different.
It's a yes or no question, please.
Sure.
Mr. Lay, let's look at those margin calls that you had July 25th, 2001. On your line of credit was getting a margin call for $483,000. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And you decided to draw out a $4 million of Enron stock. and sell that stock back to Enron, is that correct?
Objection, Your Honor, ambiguity, repetition.
Yeah, let's clear up the whole objection. I think, that those exhibits weren't entered for fraud, so I will allow that at the time, but, that's good that you objected again. So I will publish it to the jury, 4 through 8 or count.
Yeah.
For good objections, and then we can proceed with other questions now.
Go ahead.
Is that correct?
Can you repeat that question? I'm sorry.
Is that, so you decided to draw out the $4 million and sell it back to Enron, is that correct?
Objection, they need to proceed to other questions, correct?
Well, he asked it for a question.
The next question.
Are these still all pertaining to the same exhibits that were published?
Yes.
Okay. While we're still asking questions about these exhibits, let's have the client, or not the client, the witness still have them. Cause does the jury have them right now?
Yeah, no, he has the exhibits.
I do.
Oh, he does not?
They're right
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we're still on foundation of the exhibit?
Yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
you may proceed.
And you, do you need me to say the question again?
Sorry, I just,
So you decided to draw $4 million worth of Enron stock and sell it back to Enron, is that correct?
correct.
And so you're telling me that the $3.5 million was not required by the margin call that day, correct?
At the time, I wasn't entirely sure whether it was. or
It's
not.
a yes or no question, is it correct?
Objection, Your Honor. The question is vague and ambiguous. Doesn't really speculate what he wants him to answer.
I'll overrule, and, I believe the witness said he didn't know, so maybe tweak your question as a
Okay.
yes or no, if he doesn't know.
Okay.
But I'll overrule.
Yeah. But, and you did this a total of 5 times in the span of 2 months, from July 27, 2001 to September 4, 2001. You sold $20 million worth of Enron stock. Is that correct?
I've sold more than 20 million worth of Enron stock throughout my time at Enron. We were a
But-
very money-driven company.
It's a yes or no question. In the span of 2 months, did you sell $20 million worth of stock?
Correct.
And these sales happened between a few months before Enron's collapse on December 2nd, 2001, is that correct?
I wasn't sure how fast the time.
It's yes or no. Did you sell them months before Enron's collapse, December 2nd, 2001?
Yeah.
Objection, aggressive demeanor, argumentative.
I'll sustain, just be a little bit more, lenient if he says he doesn't know, try to lead him in your direction of what you want him to answer.
Gotcha. This was months before Enron's collapse though, yes or no?
I wasn't sure if Enron's was actually going to collapse. I actually had full faith that we were going to get back on our feet.
So you're telling me that it was just a coincidence that you sold $20 million worth of stock months before Enron collapsed? So you're telling me that was just a coincidence, is that correct?
Objection, Your Honor. That's leading. He's trying to get him to answer a question.
I'll overrule since it's cross, it can be cross.
You could say that.
Yes. Well, and your employees who had thousands of dollars worth of Enron stock in their portfolios, they weren't aware of these transactions, were they? Is that correct?
Repeat that question, sorry.
And your employees who had thousands of dollars worth of Enron stock in their portfolios, they weren't aware of these transactions, were they? Is that correct?
These are personal transactions. They did not need to be aware of.
But selling millions of dollars worth of Enron stock, shouldn't your employees, your investors, have a little bit of say, a little know of what you were selling?
I believe our financial team would come to me if they had any questions over anything involving.
Objection, Your Honor. Speculation.
I'll sustain.
No further questions.
Any redirect questions?
Yes, we do.
You may proceed.
So Mr. Lay, the prosecution really hammered down on the fact that you'd sold millions of shares of your stock. Would you say that it's uncommon for you to sell millions of dollars of your stock at one time?
Definitely not.
And why did you sell these stocks at question? What was the specific reasoning? Did you have any personal matters going on in your life?
Objection, compound.
Sustained. Do one question at a time.
So Mr. Lay, why did you sell these stocks that the prosecution is asking you about?
Objection non-responsive.
Well, I love the aggressiveness. We'll give him a regular pause to get his thoughts straight. Would you like to repeat your question?
Objection non-responsive.
Why did you sell these stocks at question, Mr. Lay? What was the reasoning behind it?
I mean, I believed Enron would push back stronger, and if I had many personal things to take.
Did you have any personal loans that you needed to repay during this timeline?
I did.
And would you say that is why these stocks were pulled out to repay these personal loans?
Right.
And so will you reiterate to the jury as well as myself how you were personally affected by Enron's downfall?
I did end up losing 90% of my wealth, but I did still have $7.7 million worth of stock or shares in this Enron stock.
And thus meaning those $7.7 million of stock were essentially worth nothing at the time of the collapse?
At the time of the collapse.
Objection, leading.
Can you repeat your question?
Yeah, so those 7.7 million shares of stocks were essentially worth nothing when Enron collapsed?
I'll sustain. Leave it open-ended so you can expand.
Okay. So how much were those 7.7 million shares of stock worth when Enron collapsed?
600 million.
When Enron collapsed,
when
not
we
at its peak.
collapsed.
The answer is pretty clear.
Objection, leading.
When Enron collapsed, how much was your stock worth then? Because it collapsed. His stock was worth nothing. No further questions.
Objection, move to strike. Move to
Yeah,
strike it.
move to strike.
Okay, the response will be stricken from the jury. Would you like me to read cross questions based off the scope of what they asked of personal loans, worth the stocks?
How much time do we have? Can I ask that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm assuming
Um,
8 minutes.
Yeah, 8:19.
Okay, yeah, no.
Okay, I'm going to publish exhibits 4 through 8, or all those to
Yeah.
the jury at this time. I think you laid enough foundation. You may step down, and then we'll get time from the jury.
Okay, defense is 8:43. Plaintiff is 8:19. 19.
Really?
Yep.
The defense would like to call, Mrs. Markmetz to the
State your name. Raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth. Yeah, no.
Can you please state your name for the record?
Mark Metz.
And Mrs. Metz, what was your role at Enron, and what was your occupation at Enron?
I was the executive vice president of corporate development.
And what were your responsibilities in overseeing the legal and financial transactions of Enron?
My role required me to evaluate and structure financial transactions to ensure compliance with legal and accounting standards. I also worked closely with external legal counsel and auditors to ensure that corporate activities align with GAAP.
Well, were Enron's structures and special purpose entities, or SPEs, legal under accounting and regulatory standards at this time?
Yes, they were. Everything was approved by the SEC, and we also weren't the only corporate that were using SPEs.
To your knowledge, did Jeff Skilling or Kinley ever instruct you or anyone else to take part in fraudulent accounting practices?
No, they didn't, nor Mr. Skilling nor Mr. Lay ever, told or directed anyone to engage in fraud.
Thank you, Mrs. Metz.
Cross-examination.
Hello, Ms. Metz. So, you said you did work with special purpose entities, also called SPEs.
Yes.
And did you work with a specific SPE called Raptor?
Yes.
And did you use the Raptor project to hide losses and inflate Enron's profits?
Yes.
Okay, so and then moving on, were Skilling and Lay involved with the day-to-day trading, such as any of the work you were doing?
Sorry, repeat the question.
Were Skilling and Lay involved with the day-to-day trading, such as any of the work you specifically were doing?
I don't think it's, like, no one can know everything that's going on.
Objection, Your Honor, that's speculation. She's trying to have her speak on Skilling and Lay's behalf.
Or sustain.
Okay, do you have a code of ethics at Enron? Okay, so, Your Honor, permission to approach the witness with what has been marked Exhibit 9.
You may.
And then, please read the 4 values in the code of ethics to the jury.
Respect, integrity, communication, and excellence.
And then, do you think Skilling and Lay adhere to this code?
I think in a certain way, yeah, everyone, sees values and codes in a different way, and to each their own, like they, put them out in a different way, so.
Objection,
maybe
Your
it's
Honor,
them.
this is once again speculation. She's trying to have her speak on Skilling and Lay's behalf.
I would sustain. Let's do it a little bit quicker next time, because I think the
Yeah.
rest was done answered.
And also, can we get a copy of
Yes.
your?
Yes. Thank you. I have no further questions.
First
Oh.
we'll ask for objections on the
Sorry,
exhibit.
I don't think this one was given to us either in the email.
That one was, cause I remember sending.
Was it part of the LJNT?
Yeah.
No, it was a separate response here.
I don't have the separate response.
Oh, did it not pop up for you guys? I replied underneath it right here.
Well done, though.
Thank you.
To you, so that went back to you.
Oh,
You replied to yourself, so.
how do I
we didn't
reply,
get it.
how does that even happen?
So you can throw it out, because we don't have.
I'll sustain the objection then. Any other questions?
Yes, no further questions. Thank
Anything
you.
direct?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, you may sit down. You may call your next
What's that?
witness. Actually, do you get time?
Yeah.
Defense is 7:39, and then plaintiff is 6:41.
Council's already ready to proceed. Council, are we good to proceed?
Yeah.
Okay, you may call your next witness.
I call Jerry Arnold to the stand.
Jared, let's see, raise your hand.
Jerry Bear.
Swear. Hey. Right close, Jared.
Mr. Arnold, never mind. Please state your name and occupation for the record.
My name is Jerry Arnold, and I am a professor at the University of Southern California.
Can you please describe your background and expertise in accounting for us?
Certainly, I have been a professor and a professional in accounting for several years. I have also worked as a consultant, and I have analyzed financial statements for many companies.
Have you previously served as an expert witness in legal proceedings in the past?
Yes, I have served as an expert.
Objection leading.
I feel like it's relevant to Lay Foundation as his expertise as the witness.
You're right, it is a leading question. However, I'll overrule this time because he will be entered as an expert witness. So he's just laying foundation that he has been before, but otherwise it would be. So you can proceed.
Do I need to repeat the question?
You can.
Have you previously served as an expert witness in legal proceedings in the past?
Yes, I have provided expert testimony in the past.
Okay. And you were asked to review Enron's financial statements from the third quarter of 2001. Can you tell us about your findings?
Yes, after a thorough review, I have found that these financial statements were accurately representing Enron of its condition at the time.
Your Honor, permission to approach the witness with what has been marked as Exhibit F.
You may.
I ask you to refer to what has been marked as Exhibit F. Mr. Arnold, do you recognize Exhibit F?
Yes, I do.
And what is Exhibit F?
This is a profit and loss statement as well as earning per share of common stock statement for the third quarter of 2001.
The defense moves to enter Exhibit F into evidence
Any objections, counsel?
No, no objections.
and permission to publish to the jury.
Yep, the jury will accept, this exhibit at this time, the authenticity has been stipulated.
Or if they have one.
So, Mr. Arnold, in your professional opinion, did these financial statements provide evidence of intentional fraud?
Based on my analysis and expert opinion, these financial statements do not mislead investors. They do follow accounting procedures, and Enron is a public company, so that these statements are public to the investors.
So in conclusion, based on your expertise and review of the evidence, do you think that Enron's financial reporting was in any way fraudulent?
No, I believe that they were not fraudulent.
Thank you, Mr. Arnold. No further questions at this time.
Cross-examination.
Are you receiving pay to testify today?
Yes, I am receiving compensation for my expertise.
Okay. And you are an expert in mark-to-market accounting, correct?
Yes, I am.
Could you explain a little bit for us of that?
Yes, mark-to-market accounting is a value of assets on the current market instead of their historical or book value.
So would it be fair to say that under this, you can make the fair price whatever you'd like it to be in the future?
Yes, that could be possible.
So could it be different values based on who is billing it out,
Yes,
correct?
that could be possible.
So they could be making the revenue more than it should be.
That could be possible.
And Enron was the first company to use this in a business deal, correct?
Many other companies, energy and financial companies do use this.
But Enron was the first one.
One of the first ones.
Okay. So there is a possibility that something could go wrong because it was Enron's first time.
There is always that possibility, yes.
No more questions here?
Should we direct questions?
I just have one question. Just to clarify, the financial statements that Enron reported were completely legal and compliant with all regulations?
Yes, I've looked at many documents and pages for Enron's financial documents, and everything follows GAAP and the SEC.
And in your expert opinion, you don't believe, or do you believe that these show any signs of fraudulent behavior?
There is no fraudulent behavior in these statements.
Thank you.
Any recross?
No.
You may step down. Do you have any more witnesses you'd like to call to the stand today?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. We have time for recess.
Short brief one.
Okay, councils, would you like a recess, to make any changes to your closing statements of what you heard based on the facts today? Or are you okay to proceed?
I'm ready to proceed.
Proceed? Okay. We can proceed with closing arguments then.
Could we please quickly get a time check?
You get new time on,
Oh, you get your time?
you just can't, I think you get,
We grade you on being below 60 seconds or above 3 minutes.
Like you wanna be in between 1 and
you
3.
need to be 1 to 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
You're good on time check here.
Okay, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, today you have the power to deliver justice. Over these last 2 days, you have heard the evidence, seen the documents, and listened to the testimonies, and you have heard how Enron, once a celebrated industry leader, has deceived its employees, investors, and the American public. You have heard from a few powerful executives how they were driven by greed and orchestrated one of the largest corporate frauds in history, destroying thousands of lives in the process, and now it is time to hold them accountable. The evidence is overwhelming. Enron's executives deliberately misrepresented the financial health of the company, hiding billions of dollars through complex accounting schemes, and encouraged employees and investors to invest in a house of cards. And when it all collapsed, they escaped with their millions leaving millions of hardworking Americans with their retirement savings and their homes, jobs, and faith in corporate America desolated. The defendants want you to believe that this was just another business failure and an unfortunate turn of events, but this was no accident. The lies were intentional and the fraud was deliberate. And justice demands that we do not allow corporate criminals to escape responsibility. And if we let those defendants walk free, what message does this send? That greed is acceptable? That in America we can allow the rich and wealthy to take from ordinary people? I say no. We cannot allow that to be the future that our children grow up in. Today you have the opportunity to do what Enron's leadership never did, hold them to the truth. Your verdict can send a message that fraud and corruption will never go unpunished, and that the most powerful should never be above the law. Thank you.
Time was good.
You're closing after time. Oh, never mind, we're good. You can proceed to closing.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, members of the jury, to convict Mr. Lay and Mr. Skilling, the prosecution must meet the burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. This is the highest standard of proof in the U.S. legal system. It is clear that there is still doubt in this case. In their opening statements, the prosecution stated, and I quote, "Enron boasted confidence they knew they were failing." This is an assumption, especially since there is a lack of evidence within this trial defending that statement. Fraud requires a false representation of a material fact, knowledge falsity, and a justifiable reliance. Similarly, conspiracy requires intent to achieve an unlawful objective, an overt act in furtherance of that crime. In this case, there is significant reasonable doubt regarding whether Mr. Skilling and Mr. Lay knowingly misrepresented financial statements with an intent to defraud investors, or whether instead they were in the gray area of accounting practices and within compliance at the time. Mr. Skilling and Mr. Lay were innovators, and they believed the company could be restructured through market adaptation. Today, the defense, with our expert witnesses, have shown you the numerous factors that have led to the downfall of Enron. First, the market, not fraud, was the cause of Enron's downfall. Enron was deeply involved in the newly deregulated energy markets, which were inherently volatile. Deregulation in California, for example, created unpredictable price swings and shortages that affected Enron's ability to manage risk. Moreover, the time of Enron's collapse was during the early 2000s when investor confidence plummeted. We showed you that, due to Enron Corporation's size, Mr. Lay and Mr. Skilling did not have control over many practices that occurred both externally and internally. Exhibit B shows us the faulty and jeering judgment of Mr. Fastar, who was more preoccupied with his self-dealing transactions than the benefit of the shareholders. Ms. Watkins admitted on the stand that she used other tactics to manipulate Mr. Lay, along with other employees at Enron. Third and finally, we have the knowledge that Enron's accounting practices were compliant with the legal standards at the time. Special purpose entities were not illegal at the time. In fact, these were common industry standard. Mark-to-market accounting was Mr. Skilling's innovative approach, an attempt to gain a competitive advantage, and it was approved by the SEC, external auditors, and additional gatekeepers. If we acquit Mr. Skilling and Mr. Lay, it provides the two with the needed opportunity to do all within their power to remedy these impacts. In fact, Mr. Skilling and Mr. Lay are the ones who can help right the financial wrongs of Enron. The story here is that Mr. Lay and Mr. Skilling were leading a business between the years of 1985 and 2001, and according to the law at the time, they cannot be held accountable for everything that happens within the business. Mr. Lay and Mr. Skilling were following the market practices, and it is not fair to change the rules after the fact just because the business did not work out. For these reasons, we respectfully ask you to find Mr. Skilling and Mr. Lay not guilty of the charges against them. Thank you.
321.
The jury will be dismissed if you are going to be dismissed to make a verdict.
Your Honor, what I propose is visit with the jury quick, see if they have their scores? If so, I'll collect those. And then I will see if the two main folks are able to tally them up easily today, or